Niners get the win 16-10. Raiders fall to the Cowboys 27-12. And the Eagles squeak it out against the Patriots 14-13. So who wants to go first, guys?
I mean, my game was a snooze fest. It wasn't as cool as throwing a pass behind your back to your tight end. It wasn't as cool as that. But hey, you get a W, and Maddox looks great. He picked off and had a good defensive showing. I just hope he can stay healthy as our potential safety in a nickel defense. But we shall see.
Right on. All right, so I'll just jump in real quick on the Niners. Brock Purdy didn't look all that great, but also he had none of his playmakers up to and including the guy calling the plays. Kyle Shanahan sent off those duties to somebody else, so it was literally just Brock and nobody else. He didn't even have his left tackle either because Trent Williams is still holding out. We'll talk about Brandon Ayuk in a little bit, but part of me is wondering, did Brock even need to be out there? I mean, if you're not going to have any of his playmakers out there with him, Kittle was doing interviews on the sideline. Debo was, not dressed up either. And obviously Brandon Ayuk's situation, Christian McCaffrey's, they're not playing him at all because he had a little calf tweak. So, just if everybody else is getting rest, why bother with Brock? I mean, right. At least for this week. I do want to see some of these guys at least strap it on a little bit next week, get the chin strap going. I just hit my mic like a professional there. But yeah, so I don't know, man.
You know how in some games it's a coach's decision. I fully believe that this was a Brock's decision because he just wanted to get some rep in. There's no reason for him to be there.
I could see that. I mean, he was gone, after a couple of drives anyway. So, no harm, no foul. Just stay healthy, buddy.
Yeah.
Because the more the more Josh Dobbs looked all right. I mean, he's a backup quarterback, the Pastronaut, but he's capable of winning a couple of games. But the more game tape that people get on him, the worse he becomes. So I don't want to risk that for more than, one game, and that one game being week 18 when the Niners already have the number 1 seed clinched up. That's the only time I want to see Josh Dobbs this season.
So, absolutely.
So yeah. All right, Sam, let's talk about the Raiders real quick. What did you like? What did you not like?
I think overall the game against the Cowboys was just unimpressive. I did see some good things. So I think overall, I thought the O-line played pretty well throughout the game. They have been playing without their starting left tackle, Colton Miller. Jackson Powers Johnson, who was a second-round draft pick, looks like he could be a person that's going to be competing for a starting job. They've been playing without him. But I think overall as a unit, they played pretty good. So I thought that was quality. It was really the quarterbacks. None of the quarterbacks really took the job, right? That's the problem. Gardner Minshew's named the starter over last year's starter, Aiden O'Connell. I think with Aiden, the pick 6 is what really did it in. And I think coming into the third quarter, you're down by a point. Your playmakers, the O-line, it's actually giving you an opportunity to make plays. And if you go down the field, get a touchdown, that's like a regular season environment where you come into a pressure situation, doesn't matter what happened behind you, go in, drive down the field and get a touchdown. And that's what the backup is expected to do. And he didn't do that. And I also think Aiden didn't dominate the Cowboys backups. If he's a legit starter, he should have, I think what the Raiders were expecting is him to dominate, and he hasn't really done that. That's kind of disappointing. But to defend Aiden O'Connell a little bit, it's his second year. Last year, he goes through Josh McDaniels. He gets fired. Hargreaves is announced as the offensive coordinator. So now he has to pick up that offense. And now he's picking up Luke Getsy's offense. He was a 4th-round pick for a reason. It's not to say that he doesn't have a future in the NFL or can't be a really good quarterback. I just think the thing is you can bench Gardner Minshew. I think the vibe of it, if you started with Aiden O'Connell and you have to go to Gardner Minshew, it feels different. So I think the Raiders are just going with the veteran presence um, because of what they're going to start the first 4 weeks. So I was
Okay.
disappointed that AOC wasn't named the starter because I thought overall he had a better preseason game, preseason so far. And why not just wait until week 3, see what these guys do in week 3 of preseason, run them out there again, run them 2s and 3s and all the other backups. Like if you want to see a guy run with the job, then I would want to see a guy like run with the job. But I get why they went with Gardner Minshew. But it's going to be a very short leash.
Oh, yeah. And you want to know how short that leash is? I'm looking at the Raiders schedule right now. You open up at the Chargers, then you go to the Ravens again, and then you come home to play the Panthers, and then you get the Browns at home as well. So 3 of those first 4 games, you could be looking at 1-3, like that is
Right.
on the table. And this might be a little bit of a sacrificial lamb thing as well for Gardner Minshew. Let him absorb that early
Absolutely
season,
right. Absolutely
let
right.
him take the September lumps, and then then you get the Broncos and the Steelers, and then the Rams, and you don't see the Chiefs until the end of October. So by that point, Gardner could have
Yeah.
easily lost the job at that point by then too. Who knows?
Either Gardner's going to play himself out of the job because in a situation where a starting quarterback isn't really moving the needle, helping the team, all of a sudden the backup quarterback becomes real sexy.
That's right. Yeah.
Especially as a guy who's in his second year, you want to see what you have. You want to see what you have in the guy. Like there's been quarterbacks that come out of all kinds of rounds, right? We know about the Tom Brady. Brock Purdy, right? I think that's what Aiden needs to do though, is he's not processing fast enough and the reads aren't happening and he's not reacting fast enough. And he could just be a guy it's going to take him a little time he's just trying to be a good pro. All of a sudden he's the starting quarterback of the Raiders, or competing for the starting. And you got Devontae Adams and, a Hall of Fame wide receiver, and you got a franchise trying to just be competitive and, in a big market, big TV market. The Raiders have a lot of primetime games, since they've been in Las Vegas. So there's a lot of on them. So I think it's exactly like you said, Vince. He's going to have an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Speaking of somebody, looking for a new opportunity, maybe Brandon Ayuk. Let's just cover the situation. All these alerts that I got since we last recorded. Last Tuesday at 10:45 a.m., Pittsburgh and San Francisco have a trade deal in place, and Pittsburgh says they can do a long-term deal for Ayuk. San Francisco also has a long-term deal on the table for Brandon Ayuk to stay, and we're in the end game now. I said that in the notes Tuesday morning, and here we are Friday. Let's move on to Friday at 1:30 p.m. Deebo Samuel injected himself after being asked about it. He dismissed a question basically saying BA is going to be part of this team, so we don't have to worry about that. So that gave me a little bit of like, oh, maybe he knows something. They're teammates. They're both in the wide receiver room. And then 2 hours later, the Niners and Ayuk are close to a deal. He wants adjustments to the 4th year of a potential extension. He wants the money on the 4th year for the non-guaranteed. He wants that different. So, that was interesting. And then earlier today at about 12:45, the Steelers contract offer was rumored to be less than $28 million a year, which pushed it back toward what the Niners were offering, which in turn led Brandon Ayuk back to the negotiating table in the first place. So we're still kind of here. And then just before we went on about an hour ago, the Steelers were looking to trade a 2nd-round pick and other picks, but no players for this possible trade. So, we're still sitting here with a thumbs up our ass, like wondering what the hell's going on.
Yeah, man. I keep seeing these updates. It's a drama TV show, and unfortunately, I'm kind of tired of it, man. I want to be over now.
It's not prestige TV either. This isn't HBO Sunday night. This is fucking Bravo on Tuesday. Like, this is not
prestige. It's Jerry television. Springer now.
It's almost. One other note though for the Niners though is Talanoa Hufanga. He has been cleared to return to practice officially and go all in. And if it all goes well, he will be able to play in week 1. So I am pumped to get an immensely talented safety back to help with the back end. And this is I'm super excited. I'm glad Hufanga is coming back. Let's go. As for other teams and other news in the NFL, Minnesota quarterback JJ McCarthy tore his meniscus and he's going to be out for the entirety of 2024. Sam Darnold is going to be the starter. So prayers up to Justin Jefferson and Vikings fans and anybody that has JJ on their fantasy team, man. This is not going to be good, man.
If there was ever a question about picking JJ or your running back over there in 49er land, that question has all but been answered. So please do not make the stupid mistake of going after JJ first. This is crazy, man. Like, I mean, he signs this big deal in Justin Jefferson. His quarterback leaves. No connection whatsoever with Dobbs. So nothing happens with that. So then he ends up leaving. And then you get this kid who is arguably a 5th-year, college player who's now going to be, a 6th-year rookie at this point. So it's crazy how JJ's career has definitely hit a brick wall in the hardest way possible, and it sucks for him.
And I mean, if you look at it like from a fantasy perspective, he still finished as a wide receiver 1, but he was like 10th or 11th or something like that. Like he was the back end wide receiver 1, and you drafted him like top 2, top 3, and that's what he's capable of giving you. But if the guy who throws the ball to him is trash, that's it's a recipe for a disaster. If he's like the 20th wide receiver off the board and he ends up 11th, that's great, But if he's number 2 off the board and he ends up in 11th, it's a disaster, and you've lost your championship, right? So.
Well, speaking of, I mean, it's not on our list here, but I also want to mention too. I mean, you got the drama going in Dallas too with CeeDee Lamb, and
I sent you
who knows if Dak's going to have a number 1 wide receiver to even throw to,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy, man. I mean, personally, as an Eagles fan and you being a 49ers fan, I absolutely love that there's
it's great.
And
I love this. Yeah, Jerry gonna Jerry, right, Sam?
Jerry gonna Jerry.
Yep.
Jared Jones.
Yeah, but I mean, that's arguably I would say, and I would put Cooper Kupp in there, but he's been kind of injury riddled. But these are like the top 3 wide receivers, and only one of them is solidified. I mean, JJ doesn't have a quarterback. CD may not even show up on the field. So really only the best option here is going to be, Tyreek. I mean, out of the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, wide receiver.
Tyreek, and then after that, you're looking at like Jamar Chase probably slides in there if he can bounce back.
Yeah, exactly.
Assuming Joe Burrow, Joe Burrow is the one that really needs to bounce back, I guess. But yeah,
it's crazy.
My dad actually asked a question: would any of you pick Brandon Ayuk up in fantasy? It just depends on where. The answer, like honestly, my answer
and where he signs.
Yeah, well, where he signs, but like where in the draft is he falling? I mean, he finished somewhere like on a low end wide receiver 1, a high end wide receiver 2 last year, somewhere around there. If he's somewhere around 15 or so, I think that's probably where you can start thinking about it. If the 15th wide receiver off the board. I don't want to go any sooner than that because this is still just a question mark, I mean, we're having our fantasy football draft this weekend, after the games are done on this coming weekend. So these are questions that need to be answered, right? And this contract situation is just scary, for a lot of people. It's kind of like if Brandon Ayuk's on the Niners, all systems go, draft him wherever, But if he ends up on the Steelers, is Russell Wilson going to be back? Is it even going to be Russell Wilson? Is the next question, or Justin Fields? And either way, I'm a little nervous about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it depends. And also, like, if he falls far enough, anybody becomes a value if they fall far enough in your draft. It's that's the question: is how far is far enough?
Exactly. I agree. Well, we had one more thing here, unless Sam, you wanted to mention anything else about your Raiders here coming into this new season here.
Nah, I'm good, man. It's just be solid. Go, get into week 3 and out healthy.
Yeah.
They're in a tough division, tough conference. The Chiefs are the champions, and until the Raiders get over that hump and become a legit competitor, they're not going to be looked at as a competitor until they prove it. So I'm just get through week healthy, get to week 1, play solid fight football, and maybe you got a shot.
Right.
Well, the last thing I wanted to touch base here was that there's been some interesting kind of back and forth, and Jalen Hurts didn't even comment on this. So the fact that this is even happening is why he's associated with it is because he's an ambassador to this upcoming sport that will be in the Olympics in LA in 4 years. Daryl Duchette, who is a USA flag football / quarterback for them, he came out and said, I think it's disrespectful that they automatically assume that they're able to just join the Olympic team because of the person that they are. They didn't help grow this game to get it to the Olympics. Give the guys who helped the game to get to where it is their respect, right? So I guess my question to you guys is, I don't know who this guy is, but clearly, he's really into this and he helped grow the sport and all for it. But at the end of the day, I think, if USA wants to win gold and these guys want to go out there, I think you've got to give the NFL guys an opportunity, right, to at least compete, right? I mean,
yeah, I would think that you're going to try to get the best players possible for whatever the sport is, and honestly, like there's probably going to be a lot of differences for flag football versus tackle football. So I first of all, I want to know what those differences are, and but on the other hand, is there anybody on the USA flag football team right now that's faster than Tyreek Hill? Anybody have better hands than Tyreek Hill?
Well, this too, like you're telling me a quarterback can't get touched or tackled in flag football, and Patrick Mahomes or Jalen Hurts isn't licking their chops to try and be on this roster? Come on, baby.
Yeah. So I think that there should be a tryout. For there should be like qualifications or whatever. Like there should be like some games in the flag football run up to the Olympics, and just to see who's gonna be the best fit. And I think the NFL guys are gonna end up taking it because they're the NFL guys, because they're the best in the world. And with all due respect to Daryl Doucette, you're not Patrick Mahomes, my guy. Like this is. I'm sure you did a great job helping the sport grow and whatnot, and it is in the Olympics. And he has a very valid point there, and I think he deserves a chance to try to earn a spot on this team. But so does anybody else who's qualified to try to earn a spot. And I think when the time comes, let's say I don't know how big the teams are going to be, but if it's a 25-man roster, let's just say, for example, I don't know what it is going to be, but if it's 25-man roster, I would assume 25 of those guys are going to be coming from the NFL, or at least have a healthy amount of NFL experience. If they're not, if they made the transition to flag, maybe a year beforehand or something. Let's just say, for example, we'll use Tyreek again. Tyreek's contract is up in a couple of years, right? He didn't just extend or anything, did he? No, I don't think so.
He actually restructured.
He restructured, yeah.
Restructured. So let's just say if his contract is up before 2027 and he decides he's done with the NFL, but he still stays in shape, and then he auditions, fucking play, tries out for the flag football team. I would think that Tyreek Hill would make it, even if he wasn't an active NFL player, for example.
Right.
So
I just go ahead, Tim.
I think the messed up part, I think where dude is coming from is he's probably a guy that's been truly an ambassador of the game. He's been playing games. He's writing, working with his team, getting the forms, sitting in on the meetings, like doing all of the legwork to advance flag football and get it to an Olympic thing. So I think what he feels is, a little carpet being tugged out from underneath him, because I think, he has no shot against Patrick Mahomes as the starting quarterback of the U.S. flag football team.
Yeah.
No one. I mean, shit, you could probably put Tom Brady on the Olympic team and he's going to shred, he's going to
right now, Tom Brady. Yeah, exactly.
like, I'd take him in 4 years. Like, he might shred these guys. But so I think, like, the way I feel like it's probably going to be an event that returns and stays. So I feel like for the maiden voyage, I feel like I wouldn't mind the amateur team giving it a shot, see where you're at, because that's what happened in the NBA, right? Remember the college kids took over they sucked.
Yeah, it was what 88 that team like just tanked, and
then in 92 we got the dream team.
Mm-hmm.
And then remember they did that again not too long ago. We lost to Argentina.
No, it was like 2004,
and it was like Argentina, right? Somebody won the Olympics, and then here comes LeBron, here comes Carmelo,
here's Kobe,
and it was the Redeem team. Remember that? Like, so
haven't lost since.
Is the Olympics? There's a lot of college amateur Americans that compete in the Olympics, and then you got the NBA team that are like the best of the world. So I think with flag football, you got to ask yourself: are we watching the best of the best in the world?
I guess my question is that, like, or at least my thought about this is that, USA got absolutely demolished versus Japan in football with pads, right? That whole thing that happened, that we didn't even know there was a national USA football team and they lost to Japan, right? I think if you go out there in flag football and we absolutely get demolished on a national stage of the Olympics, I don't think the sport comes back to the Olympics again. I don't think people are interested. But I think you send the best of the best out there, you get people tuning in, like, oh, this is a chance I get to see, these guys play on a different stage other than the NFL. I think you have a chance of making that sport survive. Not to say that it won't survive on its own past the Olympics. I just don't think it will make another Olympics if you do not shell out the best out there.
Yeah, if NFL guys play, they're getting smoked, dude. Like 40-0.
I mean, we could see some like I would even dare to say like some other NFL guys that have like heritage outside, even though they're American citizens, if they have heritage with other countries, like their grandmother.
That's a very good point.
Spain or something. We could see like an England team, for example, just like with a bunch of dudes who have grandmas who speak funny, like.
Well, I think if you're going to go with like, if you start putting a best of the best flag football team, then who's going to qualify? You got the breed of the cheetah, right? We're also Australia.
Also,
so like,
I want this to be entertaining, because how funny would it be if flag football has like an immense viewership, yet nobody watches the flag football for the Pro Bowl?
That's true.
Oh, that's a good point. That's good.
I want this to be good. Shove it into Dell's face.